What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Padawan podcast, Apocaflix Movies All Star Wars podcast, where we are breaking down everything from the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jake Berlin, aka Qui-Gonn Jake. Almost forgot my name there for a second. And I am joined today by the regulars on the show. We have Mr. Jacobi, Obi-Wan Jacobi, and Mr. Brian Admiralcino, the Grand Admiralcino himself. How is everyone doing today?
Not too bad.
Hello there, everyone.
He's doing a little princess wave.
Oh, is he? I have no idea what
all right,
looks like.
so
Yes.
if you guys have been following us, we've been doing a little bit of a ranking series on the show where we've been covering our favorite moments of the Skywalker saga. We went through the original trilogy, we did the prequels, and we finished it off with the sequel trilogy last week. It'll all come together in a consensus list that we're going to be revealing next week, and that is because of the topic today. We had some very interesting news come out this week. Nothing has been officially confirmed yet. It's not. I wouldn't classify it as a rumor. I would classify it as an unconfirmed report at the moment. That none other than the fan favorite animated character of Ahsoka Tano will be making her live action debut in The Mandalorian Season 2. Obviously a giant Star Wars scoop, and that is via and thanks to Slash Film and Peter Scaretta, I want to say his name is. He is the head editor and creator over there. Said he's been working on this for the last month. And he was able to reveal that in a time when we needed something like this. Yeah. And so we're going to be taking the time today to talk about it and kind of dive into a whole realm of questions and topics about this actually happening. And before we do that, let's just kind of go around the room a little bit. How's everybody doing? Brian, start with you, man. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Glad we have actually something to talk about in one of our shows because there's literally no news of anything. So something as big as this is pretty nice to have something to talk about.
Very, very true. What about you, Jacob?
I'm doing as good as I can be, It's a crazy world right now, so just trying to take it one day at a time and stay positive. But I'm with Brian that this is fantastic to hear, even if it's just a strong rumor at this point. And I did hear that it's confirmed that Rosario Dawson is in Season 2, but not who she's playing. That's correct, right? Okay, so I'm just glad. And you know how they recently announced all those NFL signings? I wish Hollywood would just right now just announce a whole bunch of future movies and actors confirmed to play roles. That would be so cool for us.
Just to give us a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel?
No, exactly. Something to talk about,
They're giving us hope.
There you go. Giving us hope. That's a good call.
Yes.
That's a good call. All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing, we have about 5 or 6 kind of topics / discussions / questions based around the topic of Ahsoka possibly making her live-action debut. And that, just plain and simple, starts with our reaction and just a little bit of discussion about us hearing the news for the first time. Obviously, I was scrolling through Twitter last week, and I was just scrolling, and I noticed Peter's Twitter, because I follow him. He's one of the guys that I look for a lot of stuff, and he was talking to the Resistance broadcast, one of the podcasts that I follow for Star Wars, and he said, it wasn't the Resistance, it was Star Wars Explained. He was talking to Star Wars Explained and Molly Damon, and they were talking, obviously about things going on in the world, and he replied and said, "Wouldn't it be a great time for a very good Star Wars scoop, ... And then he later tweeted out and said, "I just published an article, should be approved and up soon." And I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And it never crossed my mind that this would have been Ahsoka. Never. And so I was constantly just refreshing the feed.
I can
constantly
see you just hitting it.
And it all of a sudden popped up, and I jumped out of my chair at work. I had no idea what to do with myself. And then I obviously posted it to you guys. And Classic Jake goes, "Is that real? Is that real?" And so I was like, you're effing right, it is. And I retweeted almost every article that included Ahsoka that day.
You literally did.
And I was losing it. So obviously I'm excited because Ahsoka is a top 3 character for me in Star Wars in general. She is, in a lot of ways, she is exactly what we are for, what us fans are to Star Wars. We kind of see Star Wars through her eyes a lot of the time. And so I reacted away genuinely and back before the sequel trilogy happened, and how most Star Wars fans probably would when times were happy for us. But I'm very interested to see how you guys reacted because it was all over phone. Obviously, we had a little bit of a dialogue back and forth, but I didn't really get to see your guys' initial reactions when you saw the articles. Jacob, why don't you start first, man? What was like the first flood of feeling that kind of went through you as you read the article?
I was pretty shocked, to be honest, that even if it's true that they're going to introduce her in live action form in The Mandalorian, that it won't be something. The Mandalorian's pretty big right now. It's probably definitely the most positive thing going on in Star Wars at the moment. And I guess that's a good place to introduce her to some people and definitely debut her live action appearance. So I'm not over the moon excited, but I'm very excited. And I'll tell you why, because here's the thing. I love the character as well. I love the character.
He's giving you the shame
as well
from
shame.
And I want to see her so bad, especially the type of stories you can tell with what's left unknown right now in the Star Wars canon. But I don't know. Part of me, not that I want Ashley Eckstein to play her, and we're going to talk about that later, but I just don't see Ahsoka. I don't see Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I don't know why.
I agree with you.
That's the thing with me. And I love Rosario Dawson. I really do. I love her in everything I've seen her in. If you guys haven't seen Top 5, that is my favorite role of her. She's amazing in that. But also, she's in the Daredevil show, that Netflix Marvel Universe, great in that. She's been in tons of things. Clerks 2. I love her. And anything that she's going to do, I'm going to be a fan of. But for me, she has such a strong... Like, when you see her and you hear her talk, you know that's her, right? And you know, hey, that's Rosario Dawson. But Ahsoka, Ahsoka as a character, when you hear Ahsoka talk, you know that's Ahsoka. So combining those two is going to be hard for me. But regardless of that, I don't care who's playing her. I'm so excited to see the character in live action. And I hope it means and translates to some lightsabers in Mandalorian Season 2.
I mean, there was that comment by Giancarlo Esposito a few weeks ago where he was talking about the Darksaber and how there's a lot of stuff going on in Season 2.
Lightsaber fight.
He said there's a lot of stuff going on, and what if it is a Giancarlo Esposito Darksaber wielder versus an Ahsoka Tano?
Holy crap! This is just forming in my mind right
this is. I'll save this for our conversation later.
I mean, Ahsoka wins that fight all day.
I'll save this conversation for later. Brian, what was your initial reaction when I posted that when you officially saw it?
That it was BS.
Oh, you thought it was fake right away?
Well, we've been hearing for a long time, like, this character's coming, and then, like, Rosario Dawson wanting to play her, and then people were saying she's playing her, and then nothing came from it, and stuff like that. I almost still, like, don't believe it until I see it or, like,
I'm with you in that
confirm
part.
it.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's almost more of, like, I don't want to get my hopes up, I guess, of seeing this character. But I do also agree with Jacob. I don't see Rosario Dawson as her. I think personally, I've become attached to Ashley Eckstein, and like, she is Ahsoka. Like, she literally is it in real life and outside. Like, that is her. So I'm almost kind of like, I almost feel like I'm taking on, like, feelings as far as, like, if I was her, how disappointed would I be that, like, I don't get to play that character live after decades of playing this character.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that more in depth, right?
Yes.
Coming up pretty soon. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. That makes sense, and we'll definitely talk about the Ashley Eckstein and Rosario Dawson things first. But before we get to that, the biggest thing that we can talk about is just her transformation into live action. Obviously, she's not a human. right? There's an easy way around it with, body paint and putting a headpiece on her or digitizing a headpiece on her for the actress because of technology. And obviously from all of these set photos we saw from The Mandalorian and how they use this specific picture background and how they're creating these backgrounds on The Mandalorian, the technology on the show, as it was with The Lion King and Jungle Book for Jon Favreau, is higher than anything we've seen in television before. And so they know what they're doing with special effects and digital and just all these things going on. So it shouldn't be that difficult for them. But their translation from a character who has lived on animation and has grown and loved and been hated on animation at times, it's hard to translate sometimes. And so I think that could possibly confuse some people. But for me, it all comes down to how much you use practical compared to how much you use the VFX. Because with The Mandalorian, obviously we know that the budgets are high. And some of the rumors are saying that it's just a cameo, that it may just be something for a spin-off down the road, and we'll get to that later on. If it is that, it allows them to use a big chunk of money for her character piece and how she looks and how she moves and all that type of stuff, because in action, more than likely, especially with the Jedi, you're going to have to make some stuff digital. You're going to have to, especially the way Ahsoka fights. We talked about it last week on the Mandalorian Club. Jacob, I brought up how she fights for the Mandalorian Club, or for the Mandalorian Club in the last week episodes of Clone Wars. And so Rosario Dawson, or whoever plays her, can't physically do that. It's hard to create that on screen and make it look real. And so you have to be able to translate it and use enough money to make it look right. And I think that as long as they find a happy medium and in between of the two, I think we'll be okay. And, once we see an official photo, or if this is even true, again, we're going to take this with a grain of salt. We're just kind of speculating here. But once we see that photo, I'll get a better sense of how it's going to look in live action. But for right now, we've talked about it, for years now. I do think that she can make the transition. It's all based on who's behind the character, and luckily Dave Filoni's involved.
Yeah. You keep saying like money and stuff. I feel like if Disney is going to do this, or Lucasfilm, whoever, there's going to be like almost like an infinity symbol next to money when it comes to this character, because it's
a big jump.
Yeah, this is without sounding too vulgar, this is ballsy for them to do it. This is someone that if you mess this up, people are going to come for heads. Luckily, in my opinion, I don't think that she personally is going to be that difficult to put on the screen physically. She's a human looking minus the headpiece part.
Yeah, it's just all body paint.
Yeah, and look at Zoe Saldana as Gamora. That's literally almost exactly what she probably will look like, except orange, with some type of headpiece. And to be honest, when looking at her, her, I don't know what they're called. The part of her head, it almost does kind of look like a headpiece. Yeah, the way it has like what looks like a crown almost.
And we have to keep in mind what time period this is for the Ahsoka. This is when she has the most of that headpiece.
Yeah,
exactly. She's at her most mature, and so it's not the Clone Wars kind of growing headpiece. It's the full length, big one that we saw. It's even bigger than what we saw in Rebels, because it's, what is it?
Oh, that's right. It like grows with them, right?
And so it
gets bigger as they get older.
The last time we saw her, which was this time period, or at least a few years beforehand, she had a hood on, and so we didn't actually see how big it was at that point.
Yeah.
And so it could look very different and much bigger compared to when we saw it last time in Rebels. But you are right. It's something that can literally probably just like place on her when she's standing and talking in a scene.
Yeah, because other than that, she's an orange person with face paint, essentially. Yeah. Like, she's not gonna be Bosk, where it's like, okay, how do we do this?
You need a full head and all that type of stuff.
It's literally, you're creating a lizard person. So, I like that in the sense of they'll probably stick to more realistic. They're not gonna like make her a completely digital, like Rocket Raccoon type situation where it's
which I would love to see because that would allow Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah, so would I. But but I mean, luckily she's not gonna be a Baby Yoda where it's you have to figure out, do we want to use a fake one? Do we want to make it computer images? For the most part, she's just an orange person with a hat.
Yeah.
So
true.
I mean,
Good point.
so that does help. I feel like that situation a little bit more.
Jacob?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too difficult at all, to be honest. Like Brian said, it's basically all practical. I actually do think they will CGI the top of her head on, though. I think she'll be wearing something where they can add CGI on afterwards and do it, because I think it's going to be very difficult. Let's say there's an action scene where she's running or something, and that whatever's on the top of her head is going to be bobbing or it's going to fall off. So maybe in the standing talking scenes it's practical, but in the action scenes it's CG. And they've done mixtures like that before. Baby Yoda's a mixture of practical and CG. So I think they'll be fine, and it's not like it's Hulk on screen the whole time. So I think it's going to be easy for them to do. I'm curious though, because this is at a time where Jedi don't necessarily have to hide anymore. And because it's after Return of the Jedi, and maybe they still want to be secretive, but I don't know if they can pull that thing. Well, she has to hide that she's a Jedi, or that she's Force sensitive, or whatever she is. I don't think they have to do that. So are we gonna see, like we just saw in the most recent episode of the Clone Wars, is she gonna be hiding her Force abilities or not? And that'll play into how much action she's a part of and stuff. But I think it's gonna be fine.
They're called head tails.
Head tails. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Are they really?
That makes sense.
And I was gonna say, if you look at a Twi'lek that we've seen in live action several times, and I'm sure, haven't we seen Ahsoka's race on live action before?
Not
in the background.
In the background, yes. Well, Shaak Ti,
yeah.
The Jedi that infamously died in every deleted scene in Episode 3 ever. She is Ahsoka's race.
And video games.
And video games, yeah. She is Ahsoka's race. Yeah, you're right. Which I wonder how they did that.
The Togruta,
yeah. I wonder how they did her headpiece, or how they took care of that character.
Back then, they probably just slapped one on her.
Well, with George Lucas, they probably just put her in a green suit and did what they did with her.
Maybe.
Exactly, I'm sure.
Okay, guys, let's move on to the part that we were talking about a little bit earlier with Rosario Dawson and Ashley Eckstein. Obviously, when this report came out, it didn't just say Ahsoka Tano making a cameo in Mandalorian Season 2. It said Mandalorian Season 2 is going to feature Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. Now, this is a big statement, obviously, because the entire time we've known Ahsoka, Ashley Eckstein, the incredible voice actress of Ashley Eckstein, has voiced this character and solidified herself as one of the greatest Star Wars ambassadors during that time. Yeah. Right? Brian mentioned it earlier. She's not just Ahsoka on screen, but she's Ahsoka off screen. She embodies the character and what a lot of fans enjoy about Star Wars. She has Tano Tuesdays. Like, she's posting all of these things about Star Wars every day. She
single-handedly represented women in Star Wars and brought an equalism of women and men Star Wars fans.
Yes, and so during all these conversations about whether or not Ahsoka should be brought on screen, obviously it's always talked about as about whether Ashley should play her or not. And so when it came out that Rosario Dawson was going to play her, it kind of split the audience a little bit. Some people understand, some people kind of go up in an uproar. But we're going to talk about it a little bit. First of all, let's just kind of talk about Rosario Dawson. You guys kind of already gave your thoughts a little bit about not really seeing her as the character. For me personally, for a while now, she is one of the few people I do see as the character. I think that Rosario Dawson is a name, but she's not a gigantic name like that art came out about Brie Larson playing her. I wouldn't have
liked that.
I don't want a big, blockbuster name playing the character, because I want the character to be forefront rather than the actress that plays her. And Rosario Dawson is known in the community like we are in, the circle that we're in. She's incredible. Like Jacob mentioned the stuff that she's in. But as far as the average audience goes, they're going to be like, oh, wait, that girl was in Daredevil, but they're not going to know her name. And so,
Zombieland 2.
Yeah, and And so I do think that she can play this character. She's the right age, first of all, right? She might be a little older in real life, but she can play down a little bit because she's stunning looking as an actress.
Well, she'll be older too.
Yeah, and we've seen Rosario Dawson do action in the past. Like, she's done that type of action at least enough to where you can embody wielding a lightsaber for a split second, and then you go to a little bit of VFX, or you
stunt double.
Yeah, just whatever. And so I never had an exact name I wanted to play her, because we talked about it. Ashley Eckstein was kind of always in the back of my head. Like, I would always love to see her playing it, but she's kind of had more voice work in her career. And so how does that translate on screen as far as physical goes? So there was never like a name that stood out to me. So when people started throwing around the name of Rosario Dawson, it kind of just like clicked with me a little bit. She wasn't like a ultimate number one or the best choice out there, but when you throw around a name and you kind of look at the characters a little bit, I can just see her playing the character, because I like what she does on screen. And like I said, she's not like this gigantic big blockbuster name that's going to take over the character like a Brie Larson would. I think that you get a name who's well known in the business, who is capable of holding her own as a lead character, a big character, but someone who isn't going to overtake it like with the press and the fact
Brie Larson.
Yeah, like Brie Larson would, exactly. And so I do think, and again, anybody can play any character. It's just all about how you embody that character. And we may not see it now, but who knows? Maybe if she does show up in this season and you two see the character and you're like, oh my God, I was wrong. Like, she crushed it as a character. And so we may never know, because we may never see her. But if we do see her, we're just going to have to wait and see until how it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopefully optimistic. Like, obviously, I'm rooting for this to be the best possible thing. I'm not a Star Wars fan that's like, it's done. It's crap. She's cast, whatever. Like, the negative. I love Ashley Eckstein. Like, I adore her. She's always going to be my number one choice because she is Ahsoka. But I'm not going to bash Rosario Dawson because I don't know how she's going to do it. I'm not going to already be upset before I even see it. I mean, you could say that about The Mandalorian when people, it's like, oh, there's no lightsabers in it, like, whatever.
Mm-hmm. There's gotta be.
Yeah, but it's like, you're already making it negative, and then look at how great it comes out. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, yeah, I would love to see Ashley Eckstein because that's who I imagine. That's Ahsoka. That's who I'm always gonna, for the most part, imagine being Ahsoka. But I'm not gonna already start hating Rosario Dawson because it's not her, unless I see her, she's crap, and then obviously I'll be upset. But to already be judging and stuff, it's stupid, and I think Star Wars fans do that too much.
Classic Star Wars fans.
So, and I completely agree with you on the fact that she should not be a name that steals the whole entire show. A name like Brie Larson would steal away from the character, probably the show. I mean, and she already has negative hate to her. Rosario Dawson, whether or not it's justified, that's a whole different topic. But no one's out there going like, "Ugh, Rosario Dawson ruined that one movie. She's the worst. Now she's gonna go ruin this." She's not. She's
good in everything she's in.
Yeah, I mean, like she's not a name that people can like. I keep using Brie Larson just because she was going to be, or people were saying she was going to be.
Yeah, there was a fan art piece that came out and they put her as Ahsoka. Yeah.
But it also kind of works with what I'm saying because people hate on her for Captain Marvel, hate on her like no other superhero
for no reason.
For like that is probably one of the most like people bash on characters, and of course it's a woman, right? So, and look at exactly how it is right now. People were like, "Oh no, it's stupid." I am not going to judge until I see it for myself and form my own opinion. Will Ashley Eckstein be my number one choice? Yes, always. She is Ahsoka. Because if they put Ashley Eckstein in it and she's bad, that's still Ahsoka. So I'll hold off on my judgment of Rosario Dawson being Ahsoka. But if she kills it, she kills it. I'm excited. She's not a bad actress. Like, there's so many more worse choices than this. And, I mean, we've heard her speak in the past. She has an appreciation for the character, which is nice because we can at least get on board with that. She's not some random person like, yeah, I get to play a person with a lightsaber. Like, she knows. And I'm sure Ashley Eckstein's going to help her in some way. So to prejudge it, it's too early. And it's not even confirmed yet. So if she is it, great. I hope it comes out as best as possible. If not, then we're wasting our breath.
Jacob, any last thoughts?
Well, I have no doubt in my mind that Rosario Dawson is going to do a great job at this. I guarantee you she's going to watch. If this is true, I guarantee you she's going to watch every episode of the Clone Wars that Ahsoka's in, and every episode of Rebels that Ahsoka's in, and understand who the character is, and understand how the character acts, and understand how her mannerisms and the way she speaks. I do think that'll happen, and I don't think Ashley Eckstein is going to be salty about this. I think she's going to embrace it and be happy that the character is going to live action and that Rosario Dawson is playing her, because I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen Ashley Eckstein act in a live action movie, and I don't know if she can.
Neither have I.
So voice acting and live action acting is way different. They're not the same, and just because you do one doesn't mean you can do the other. And live action actors can't just come in and be great voice actors either. So I don't know if they want to go with someone who's not a proven actor on screen. So I'm totally okay with Ashley Eckstein not playing her. I would have been okay with her doing it as well. But I don't necessarily want her. I just kind of wanted an unrecognizable face in a way. Because even though, look, the only reason Brie Larson is such a huge name is because of Captain Marvel and Avengers. If she didn't do those two movies, random audience members wouldn't know who she is by name.
The nerd world.
Honestly, if I say to my uncle, hey, you know who Brie Larson is? He's going to say no. And I'm going to say, remember Captain Marvel, the girl in the Avengers? And he's going to say, oh, yeah, her. So people don't really know her that well outside of those movies. But Rosario Dawson has been working for about over 20 years in Hollywood, and she's a recognizable face. So I think that's what kind of gets me. But I do think she's going to do a great job, and I guarantee you Ashley Eckstein is all for it.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you. I think that Ashley Eckstein, I'm sure she would obviously want to play the character.
Of course,
I do think that if she probably understands the logistics as to why maybe that she's not playing the character, and like you said, she'll probably embrace being there and helping Rosario Dawson or whoever's playing her make sure that person knows who Ahsoka is through and through, along with Dave Filoni by her side as well. So it definitely
with Dave Filoni
definitely helps.
I don't see them not having her involved in some way, because first off, it'd be disrespectful. I mean, like I said, she's this character, and if I'm Rosario Dawson, I would want someone like her around that is literally been living this character for the last how many years? At least 10 or 15. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, she's got to be involved in it in some capacity.
Agreed. All right, well, let's get on to the juicy part of the Ahsoka story.
Yes.
We're moving on from the speculation and talking about the actress, and we're gonna go straight into discussing the rumor and what could happen if it is in fact true. And so the questions that I have written down here are, Why the Mandalorian? How does she fit into it story-wise, and with what characters? Now, we don't have to answer those exactly, but it kind of gives us an idea as to what we want to talk about. I mean, I don't want mine to be taken, but I will allow my guests to go first.
No. I think you. The one time we'll let you go first because it is Ahsoka.
So here's
look at see he just goes straight for it.
Yeah, I mean you gave me the okay, so why not?
Yeah, it's like when I went first on the Lord's.
Yes,
you get your one piece.
So there was a report, an added to the report saying that this was essentially a cameo and that it could possibly set up a spin-off series. A spin-off series for her live action spin-off series. We'll talk about that after this. But if it is in fact just a cameo, and let's say it's one episode, say we just see her for a split second, which would add credence to why we never heard about this during filming, because it did end filming like 2 weeks ago. It finished. It was done. And then we heard about it afterwards. A small day cameo or something would make sense. Mm-hmm. And leading back to weeks ago, or maybe even months ago, when a said named Katie Sackhoff posted an Instagram post about how she did something very special and how it meant a lot to her.
Crap, I didn't even think about this.
And how we get the Darksaber in Season 1, and how we hear about the Season Mandalore in Season 1. I believe that if this is in fact true, that this cameo is none other than a flashback to the Season Mandalore from the Clone Wars we're about to see animation.
Oh, wow.
And it's Ahsoka and Bo-Katan versus Moff Gideon and the Empire. And possibly even a live-action Rex as well. Boom, boom, boom. There it is, guys.
I didn't even think about a flashback.
I think it's a flashback to the Siege of Mandalore, and we see Ahsoka from the time in the Clone Wars we're about to see right now, with Bo-Katan by her side, with Captain Rex facing off against the Empire on Mandalore.
Okay, here's my thing. That would mean they would lose.
Who says they can't? Doesn't mean they have to die.
Wouldn't Darth Maul be there at some point?
Yeah, I get what Brian is saying, because we know Moff Gideon gets away with the Darksaber. So that means they were able to stop or outsmart Ahsoka somehow, which that's going to be crazy to see. But who knows? I mean, Moff Gideon's a very capable guy. So not that he's Force sensitive or anything like that, but we've seen non-Jedi or non-Sith or non-Force users beat Jedi before. It's definitely possible.
She's not a Jedi.
Yes, well, she is at this point.
She's all the Jedi.
You know what I mean when I say Jedi. I'm not going to say Force user every time, but I didn't even think about a flashback, because that makes so much sense, because if you introduce her in modern times, then you're like, okay, you got to figure out a way to send her off.
I have an idea for that as well.
This whole time.
But I'll save that.
Yeah,
for
my idea takes place in modern, the timeline of the Mandalorian.
Yeah, so you guys were talking about that means that she would have to lose. I would say that she doesn't necessarily have to lose or be outsmarted. What if something else takes more of importance, like saving a Captain Rex or saving a Bo-Katan, and letting them get away and just simply saying, we lost this battle, but we're not going to lose the war, and she thinks she may get another chance, or maybe, in fact, they do lose. I mean, there's that possibility, because we know that the Mandalorians, they lose Mandalore. The Empire takes it over. So we know that they lose already. So if Ahsoka is there, or if she's there maybe at the beginning, and maybe she feels Order 66 and she goes off or something, and it's just them, I don't know, but the losing aspect, or them or her being, that doesn't bother me as much, because we already know that happened. And if they throw Ahsoka into the fold and she's in fact there, then so be it. And maybe that's why she went into hiding for so long, or she became Fulcrum, or whatever. Like, that could be a lead into what we know with her in Rebels as well. And I think personally a flashback works a little bit more story-wise. And as far as the characters as well, because, she could obviously run into Din Djarin, like, who knows? She can run into anybody that he meets. We know that. But she fits better with a character like Bo-Katan, and we've been saying for a while that character could possibly show up in a flashback on the Siege of Mandalore. And if you throw in Ahsoka, you throw in a Captain Rex, and you throw in Moff Gideon when he's there.
Who's the actor who plays Jango Fett.
Oh God, what's his name? He was an Aquaman. Let me look up his name real quick.
He's the dad in Aquaman, but he should play Rex if they do that.
He'd be a clone. Oh, duh. Obviously.
Oh, he'd be younger though. He is the clone.
I know.
Well, they de-aged him in
right?
Aquaman.
Yeah, they could de-age him. I was thinking Rebels Rex. He would be perfect to play
His
Rebels
name is
Rex.
Tamura Morrison.
Yes, I would love to see him
That'd
come
be
back
awesome.
if they do
That'd
that.
Be awesome. All right, you guys' thoughts. You move on to your theorizing stories.
I have my theory.
Go ahead.
My theory is that she is the one that is going to take away Baby Yoda. Either in some capacity, Baby Yoda cannot stay with him. It's too much work, too much trouble, something. And he's trying to figure out some safe way, not to get rid of it, but like help it. Because obviously these things age at like a snail's pace to a human. So I have a feeling that at some point, probably the end, maybe she's this person he's trying to get the baby to, while Moff Gideon is trying to get back the baby. Maybe that's where this lightsaber fight comes in at the end. He finally finds them. She finally shows up to take it. Hence our battle right there. And then at the very end, she's this... I mean, who else in Star Wars, top 3, are we going to trust to take something as precious to us as the child?
The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka.
Okay, one's dead, one hasn't, and that leaves Ahsoka. So, I mean, because that way, it one gives us Ahsoka in live action. 2, they don't. If it is a short cameo, there's your short cameo. She's showing up at the end, kind of like what Rebels did when they revealed she was Fulcrum. And then that finally gives us this conclusion to the child. Because let's be honest, as much as we love the child, I highly doubt that they're going to stick together throughout this whole entire thing. So this would kind of give it... And she almost kind of like looks angelic at the end of Rebels when she's going off with this all white and stuff.
Ahsoka the White.
Yeah, it just seems so like...
There's your reference, Jacob.
Yeah, and she knows the Yoda, and she knows the race or the species,
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
And maybe Baby Yoda he transfers over from the Mandalorian to an Ahsoka live action series, and we still get a Baby Yoda.
Oh, and he's her apprentice. Oh shoot!
Well,
I just added another layer to that, you know?
yeah, but yeah,
That'd be insane.
But that was where I came up with my idea. She just kind of like comes in that maybe
it's fluid. It's fluid, and if that second report of it saying like, oh, it's a backdoor pilot for her own episode, that's kind of a shimmy into her own. Like a lot of people, you know, I had mentioned the Resistance broadcast. They were talking about how one of them said that they think that this is the way Star Wars can explore the Outer Rim, the wild space, the lost regions. You do it through Ahsoka because where does she go in this time frame? Like what is she doing? And you can even attach Baby Yoda that like maybe that species planet is like on the edge of
is from wild space,
like
or
on the edge of the Star Wars
space,
galaxy of what we know, and she has to travel, and it's kind of like a little buddy cop adventure, or not a buddy cop, but a buddy adventure between these two characters doing these things, trying to get out there to find this place, and it's through Ahsoka's eyes. Like it very well could be. It'd be very interesting.
Yeah, I just see it. It kind of almost works perfectly as him trying to find this person.
Yeah.
Can take care of it.
We'll definitely find out in the first episode if someone says like, "Oh, you need to find so and so," and it could be like, "Oh, he's looking for this person," and it could be Ahsoka.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my thought process.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense because if she shows the Mandalorian that she's Force sensitive, and that's probably who he wants the child to be with, and maybe he trusts her to find his home ultimately,
And she could,
which I could totally see.
And she could probably sense Baby Yoda at this point anyway. Like if she's the all-powerful Ahsoka at this point, like we saw at the end of Rebels, she has that ability, like a Yoda, to sense other Force users out there. Because there's not a lot of them.
But yeah, she sensed Rey.
There's Luke. She sensed Rey. I mean, there's a lot of... not a lot. There's only a certain amount of them out there at this point. Luke, Leia, and her, from what we know. Right? Those are the only three from what we know at this point that are out there at this time period. And so we may learn of more.
Yeah.
But from what we know of the movies and the TV series so far, Luke, Leia, and Ahsoka are the only three Force users at this time period in Star Wars. And so that means that she could probably sense them because at this point, she is the most powerful Force user in the galaxy. She's more powerful than Luke at this point.
I just see her stomping the staff.
Okay. I would agree, yeah.
So it's definitely a strong theory. I'd have to agree with that one. So
it honestly makes me so giddy that Ahsoka is alive and around during the same time that Luke is.
Right?
That's crazy. If this is in modern day, if this is in the current times. So for me, I always imagined this, and this is the most exciting thing to talk about with this whole story, is if she does appear, why and how. And I imagine that it happens in current times, so in the same timeline of The Mandalorian Season 2, after we see the Mandalorian face Moff Gideon, however much time is afterwards. And I think that the Darksaber is going to play a huge role in Season 2. I think I don't know if the Mandalorian knows what it is or how important it is, but I think he's going to find out. And I think, so how far after Return of the Jedi is the end of Rebels season, the last season of Rebels? Do we know officially?
It's within a year.
Yeah, it's
within a year because Sabine was talking about how they just won the war and everyone's kind of off doing their thing. And yeah, it's within a year.
So if we see Ahsoka in the Mandalorian timeline, which is 6 years after Return of the Jedi?
5, but yes.
5? Okay. Well, who knows when season 2 takes place. But so then Ahsoka might have already gone with Sabine to look for Ezra and Thrawn and then came back. That's probably what happened.
Sabine might even be with them.
So that's exactly where I was going.
Sorry.
I think Sabine is going to show up in this season with Ahsoka. The Mandalorian's going to say, hey, this dude has a dark black lightsaber. And Sabine's going to be like, oh, hell no, let's go get that with Ahsoka. And that's how it all boils down. And can you imagine the Mandalorian and Sabine just flying side by side, just back to back, taking out ships or whatever they're going to be doing, droids? That gets me so excited. So I think that's how it's going to play into it because it makes so much sense. Sabine was the holder of the Darksaber at some point. She knows the significance of it. So, and the last time we saw Ahsoka in this timeline, she was with Sabine. So it all kind of ties in and makes sense. And how cool would that be to get a live action Sabine as well? And I don't know. I've never seen the actress who voices her.
She's Indian, and so you could do it. Do you guys remember?
Yeah, or they cast someone else.
Do you guys remember the Google movie with Vince Vaughn and
yes,
the internship. You know the young girl that was kind of had a hookup with Dylan O'Brien in the group.
I think
that's the girl that voices her.
That's her. Okay, it's possible that she could play her, or just like they do with Ahsoka, if it is Rosario Dawson, they just get another actress to play her. But either way, I definitely think story-wise it all ties in. But honestly, story-wise, all three of our theories make sense.
Yeah, I like yours a lot because I was also thinking to myself, if it was in modern day, more than likely Sabine will be with her.
Yeah,
and I had an absolutely wild idea of her. Of her being involved in this somehow, and then it kind of, I played with the backdoor idea of it being her backdoor pilot. we know that from the Rise of Skywalker, Luke kind of went on this mission for stuff, right? He was hunting down the Sith Wayfinder. He was kind of doing this thing, like, almost in a way, he was...
Like a relic hunter.
Yeah, he was slowly kind of, like, unfolding Palpatine's plan, right? What if there was someone else before him that he picked up that trail from? And what if it was someone like Ahsoka Tano? What if she figured out or found something that put her on a trail of someone like a Palpatine's, plan, or she felt something in the Force of the Sith, or, she met someone that, slipped the tongue or something. I mean, what if Ahsoka started this journey and she met Luke somehow, and Luke followed and picked up that journey from her, leading to the events of the sequel trilogy? And maybe that's how Rey heard Ahsoka's voice through Luke, because of her connection through Luke. Like, what if, like, it's a wild idea. Trust me, wild idea. But that would open up the doors to a straight Jedi Force Sith mythology series with Ahsoka leading to all of this. And we know...
So you're saying Luke would be in that series?
Maybe. Oh. And we know how much Filoni loves dealing with the mythology of the Jedi and the Sith.
That would be a dream come true.
Filoni loves dealing with that stuff. And so that's I mean, maybe. Who knows?
I like that all three of us had different ones.
Yeah. I also was wondering if this is Filoni's way of doing the Star Wars Rebels sequel series, but in live action.
I mean,
possibly. I mean, we've kind of talked about that before Ahsoka was even mentioned to be in this series.
How long have we been hearing that the sequel is coming the end of this year?
What if the the sequel series to Star Wars Rebels turns into a live action series, and we see a live action Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra, and Thrawn all in one series together?
I will lose my ever loving mind if I see Thrawn.
I'm just saying,
you can even throw Hera in there
again. And this is how they explore wild space.
Jason Syndulla.
This is how they explore the Outer Rim.
And they left Ezra out of that I Am All the Jedi at the end of Rise of Skywalker for a reason. They definitely left him out.
Which means he's alive.
Yeah.
How far are you guys? How far are you guys on the book?
You already know
novelization. You guys aren't at the end yet, huh?
He hasn't even started it.
Not too far.
So there is clarification on I Am All the Jedi scene in the book, and it leaves some very interesting questions for that.
Okay.
For certain things. I'll just leave it at that. We're gonna do a full episode on that just in the future when we're all finished with it. But there is clear clarification on that moment. So I'll just leave it at that.
Crap.
Wow, I need to hurry up and get there then.
It's very interesting.
Crap.
All right, guys. Well, any last theories, thoughts on our theories, backdoor pilot ideas about it being a live action series for her?
I'm just ready to go. I'm so glad we have something like this to talk about. But...
Let me ask this: both of you, do you think that if she does have a cameo, again, giant if, where does it happen in the series? Is it early, middle, or end?
I already told you mine.
So yours is the last episode.
Yeah.
Jacob?
I think it'll be in the middle towards the end, basically like 75% the way through. And because it's possible she shows up for one episode, and that whole episode is a mission with her and Sabine or something. Mm-hmm. And if not, then it's going to be the last couple episodes, the season finale, but I could see it like 75% the way through, and then they really let the end of the season be about the Mandalorian and the child, possibly.
So sticking with my theory about it being a flashback in the Siege of Mandalore, I think it happens in the first 3 episodes.
Possibly, because they might want to answer some questions about the Darksaber right away.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it's someone like maybe it's the armorer telling the Mandalorian about the Siege of Mandalore, and that's when it happens. Like, he goes to her to learn, like, what is this Darksaber? Like, what is this thing? And she tells the history to him of the Darksaber, and that's where we get the Siege of Mandalore flashback.
He never saw it.
But what if he will in the first episode? What I'm saying is he'll eventually see it.
Yeah.
And I hope the armor is back, because she's badass, but maybe she's the one that kind of explains that to him, and we get this whole flashback sequence or full episode. Who knows?
It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, that could be. I could see that being a whole episode, kind of like on Clone Wars when they would do random episodes like that.
Agreed. All right, guys. Well, I think that may conclude our Ahsoka Tano conversation. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No.
I just want to say, Rosario Dawson, I hope it's true.
Oh, dude. Oh, we got him. We got him. We good? We froze. Okay, we're good. All right.
I don't hear it. Oh.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I hear you guys.
We're good.
Oh.
Brian, you're good? Any last thoughts?
No. Just curious to see if it's true or not.
Yeah, me too. I don't think we'll hear anything of it for quite a while, unfortunately. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney stays completely shut until the season premieres.
If this is true, can you imagine the secret she's holding to her chest?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, look. I think
That's crazy.
I do think that if Disney stays quiet and it continues to be unconfirmed, that it is true. I think they would probably come out and say that no, or that she. Yeah,
no,
I think that's probably the case, but who knows with this stuff? I mean, it's all kind of just crazy Hollywood business stuff, so who knows what they're really doing.
It's true.
But it's definitely exciting times.
Good thing they finished filming, because if they didn't, they would have shut down
But,
production.
hey,
so that means
kudos to them for keeping that completely quiet while filming. If they did do that.
Oh my God! You know what I just
yeah.
thought of? There's a possibility that Taika could direct
Ahsoka Tano
with Dave Filoni.
That'd be wild. I think it would be very unfair if Dave Filoni didn't direct the Ahsoka Tano episode.
Yeah,
I would say that.
Oh, 100% Dave Filoni is directing that episode.
He or Jon Favreau for sure. One of the two.
I hope it would be him.
I hope it would be Filoni for sure too. Or Deborah Chow, the Siege of Mandalore.
Don't even start with me.
Hopefully Ahsoka's in more than one episode, so all
Agreed.
of them can direct her, or at least a few.
That's a good statement to go off of. All right, guys. Well, that is this week's Padawan podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, we really, really appreciate it. You guys can find us not just on YouTube, where you can leave your comments on the entire Ahsoka Tano saga, as we're going to call it, because this story is for sure not done. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe as always. We really, really appreciate the subscriptions. You guys can also find us on audio form as well, so Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Google. Just search Apocaflix Movies or Padawan Podcast, and it'll pop right up. You guys can also find us on Twitter and Instagram, where we are posting all of our videos and interacting daily, as well as our personal accounts, which you can find right below. And so, for Mr. Grant Admiralcino, Obi-Wan Jacobi, and Qui-Gonn Jake, this is the Padawan Podcast. We thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week, and may the Force be with you.